Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Now with today's main headlines. Chicago-based IHS organizes its 27th annual Imam Sadiq Islam and Science Fair. Australian National Imams Council concerned over Indian PM's visit to Australia. Foreign Policy magazine publishes article criticizing Taliban extreme school curriculum. Nearly 6 million children in Yemen are one step away from starvation, UNICEF has warned. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, this is Hussein Jawad and you're watching Shia Waves live from Imam Hussein TV 3, London. The Islamic Husseini School, based in the US state of Chicago, Illinois, has held its 27th annual Imam Sadiq Islam and Science Fair to provide religious education and programs for the Ithna Ashari community under the guidance and teachings of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. The event took place on the 21st of May with the participation of the school's students who presented their topics on various Islamic topics. The Islamic Husseini School consists of 3 departments, namely Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, Department of Theology, Imam Zain al-Abidin, Department of Quranic Studies, and the Lady of Fatima Zahra, Department of Language. It is worth mentioning that the school was formed in 1993 to serve the Shia community and is under the guidance of Maulana Sayyid Mahbub Mehdi Abidi al-Najafi and under the leadership of Maulana Sheikh Muhammad Javad. The Australian National Imams Council has expressed its deep concern over the visit of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Australia. The Australia-based Islamic body of Muslim imams, scholars and clerics said in a statement on the official website on Wednesday, a copy of which was received by Shia Waves agency, that the council is deeply concerned about the visit to Australia by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, given many of the policies and laws prompted by his government. The Janata Party, PJP, the statement added that the BJP has adopted laws and policies that systematically discriminate against the Muslim community, noting that according to the Human Rights Watch, prejudice embedded in the government of the ruling Hindu nationalist BJP have infiltrated independent institutions such as the police and the courts, empowering nationalist groups to harass, threaten and attack religious minorities with impunity. It continued that since Modi administration first took office, BJP leaders have repeatedly made Hindu nationalist and anti-Muslim remarks in their speeches and interviews, which encouraged and incited violent attacks by party supporters who believe they have political protection and approval. The council members called on the Australian political leaders, including the Prime Minister, to not overlook or ignore such violations against human rights and to address them with a view seeking response and redress. According to national and international human rights organizations and groups, Muslims are frequently targeted by the Indian ruling regime. Reports have documented incidents of anti-Muslim hatred, persecution, killing, and house and mosque bulldozing. The Foreign Police magazine has published a new article in which it criticized the current education system under the leadership of Taliban. The author of the article, published on Wednesday, Leanne O'Donnell, said that the extreme curriculum used in Afghanistan teaches children how to hate, not how to think. O'Donnell strongly criticized the terrorist movement attempts to inculcate toxic and extreme thoughts into children instead of educating and developing their skills, and she also highlighted the educational bans imposed on girls. The writer said that most of the schools under the supervision of Taliban teach how to use suicide bombings. It should be mentioned that Taliban, since returning to power in August 2021, has banned girls from pursuing their education and only allowed boys to go to schools. This decision angered the local and international human rights organizations, who demanded that the Taliban to reopen schools for girls. Let us remind our respected viewers of today's headlines. Chicago-based Islamic Husseini School organizes its 27th annual Imam Sadiq Islam and Science Fair. Australian National Imams Council concerned of Indian PM's visit to Australia. Foreign Policy magazine publishes article criticizing Taliban extreme school curriculum. Also tonight, an estimated 50 million people were living in situations of modern slavery in 2021, new report reveals. The UNICEF has warned that millions of children in Yemen will face starvation if actions are not urgently taken to provide sufficient funding for humanitarian assistance. The UNICEF's office in Yemen said in a post on Twitter on Wednesday that nearly 6 million children in Yemen are one step away from starvation and they are in urgent need of support. The UN organization announced earlier this month its need for $444 million to continue its humanitarian response to children in Yemen in 2023. On Sunday, the World Food Programme has announced its need for $80 million to carry out its humanitarian activities to support children in Yemen. And now we continue with some short news. According to humanitarian organizations, about 500 refugees and migrants are on board a boat in urgent need of help in the Mediterranean Sea after leaving Libya for Europe. In a statement released on Wednesday, the Italian NGO Emergency said that 45 women and 56 children were on a boat. It confirmed that rescue support was dispatched towards the boat but needed 10 hours to reach the location. According to news reports, over 45,000 migrants and refugees have arrived in Italy across the Mediterranean this year, the highest number since 2017. The International Organization for Migration confirms that about 1,090 people are estimated to have died or gone missing in the Mediterranean Sea since January. Tartil application is the latest multilingual program for engaging with the Quran, which has integrated artificial intelligence into its design. It provides smart interactive features to help memorizing and reciting the Quran. The app uses groundbreaking AI technology that notifies users of mistakes in their recitation in real time and advances the Quran memorization by interacting with them as they recite. It should be mentioned that the many Quran applications have been developed over time have offered improved services to those interested in the sacred source of guidance. According to Al-Kafil Global Network, Al-Abbas Holy Shrine has used a new technology to protect and increase the strength of the dome of Imam al-Mahdi. May Allah bless him and hasten his reappearance. Following the directive of the Secretary of the Al-Abbas Holy Shrine, iron scaffolding has installed to increase the structural cohesion and protect the dome, making it resistant to long-term effects of weather conditions, said Hassan Saeed Mehdi, head of Aina Kari unit in the Construction Engineering Repair Department of the Shrine. He further emphasized that this dome is currently intact without any cracks, and the work of installing the pipes was only carried out to reinforce the building. According to UN agencies, more than 1 million Somali people have been internally displaced in the past 4 months due to toxic combination of drought, conflicts and floods. About 433,000 people were forced to leave their homes between January the 1st and May the 10th. With the outbreak of a destructive Islamist insurgency and clashes in the separatist region of Somaliland, says a joint statement by the United Nations Refugee Agency and the Norwegian Refugee Council. In addition, the statement reads, more than 480,000 people have been displaced due to the floods that swept through their villages, while 312,000 have been displaced due to the devastating drought. 70 Muslim scouts have been announced that they will walk 12 miles in East London this Sunday, May the 27th, in order to raise awareness for money for the survivors of the earthquakes in Syria and Turkey. The money will be donated to the organization Islamic Relief with its emergency earthquake appeal for the victims in these regions. It should be mentioned that more than 50,000 people lost their lives in the recent devastating earthquake affecting these countries, with thousands more losing homes and properties. The number of people living in modern slavery has risen sharply in the past 5 years, according to a new report by the Global Slavery Index, with Saudi Arabia, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait among the top 10. More details in this following report.
The number of people becoming victims of modern slavery has increased in recent years. A new study published in London on Wednesday shows, according to the Global Slavery Index released by the human rights organization Walk Free, an estimated 50 million people were living in situations of modern slavery in 2021, an increase of 10 million since a previous estimate 5 years ago. The situation is worsening against a backdrop of increasing and more complex armed conflicts, widespread environmental degradation, and repercussions from the COVID-19 pandemic, among other factors. The human rights group describes modern slavery as covering a set of specific legal concepts including forced labor, debt bondage, forced marriage, slavery, and slavery-like practices, and human trafficking. Forced labor accounts to 27.6 million of those modern slavery, while forced marriage accounts for 22 million, or nearly 1 of every 150 people in the world, the report said. According to the report, Eritrea, Mauritania, and North Korea have the highest number of modern slavery victims, with Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates, alongside Kuwait, being amongst the top 10. The organization explained that many of these regions have witnessed conflict, political instability, and authoritarianism, while several others are home to a large refugee and migrant worker population, who are often not afforded the same legal protections as citizens and are highly vulnerable to exploitation. According to the index, when countries are evaluated on numbers alone, the world's biggest democracy, India, has the most people trapped in modern slavery, followed by China, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, Indonesia, Nigeria, Turkey, Bangladesh, and the United States. The report's authors point out that 6 of those countries are in the G20, and together they're estimated to import $468 billion worth of goods potentially made through forced labor each year, including electronics, garments, palm oil, and solar panels. That's 100 million more than the last count in 2018. It concluded that the largest responsibility and opportunity sits with the countries who are in the economic position to do something about ending slavery, who can build supply chains differently, and who are engaging with repressive regimes all over the world.
Thank you, Ali Hassan, for that report. And now on to the next article. At least 35 mosques were attacked in Germany last year, with the majority of these offences motivated by anti-Islamic sentiments and right-wing extremism in the country, according to a new report released by Turkish Muslim group, the ITIB. The report, which analyses hate crimes, threats and attacks targeting mosques and Islamic organizations in Germany in 2022, says anti-Muslim violence was closely related to social and political developments in the country, as well as public debates about immigrants, Muslims and Islam. Left-wing extremists and followers of the PKK terror group were behind several attacks targeting mosques, In recent years, Germany has witnessed an increase in racism and anti-Islamic sentiments fueled by the propaganda of far-right groups and parties. Germany, with a population of over 84 million people, has the second largest Muslim population in Western Europe after France. It is home to nearly 5 million Muslims according to official figures. We have reached the end of today's Shia Waves show. Let's remind our respected viewers of today's headlines. Chicago-based Islamic Husseini School organizes its 27th annual Imam Sadiq Islam and Science Fair. Australian National Imams Council concerned over Indian PM's visit to Australia. Foreign Policy magazine publishes article criticizing Taliban extreme school curriculum. Nearly 6 million children in Yemen are one step away from starvation, UNICEF warns. An estimated 50 million people were living in situations of modern slavery in 2021, new report reveals. "35 mosques targeted in Germany by anti-Islam extremists in 2022. You can read the latest news on our Shia Waves website, and you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Contact us on the numbers at the bottom of the screen. Thank you very much for watching today's show. We pray to Allah Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Kaaba to Rasulullah, it says, "O Muhammad, the house of God itself prostrates to your greatness.
Allah.
All men